General Martin Dempsey, America's top military commander, as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, has written to senators who have been urging swift and decisive action on Syria, warning them of unintended consequences, including the empowerment of Islamist extremists should Bashar al-Assad's eroding state collapse. His precautionary words, not untypical of US and British generals after their chastening experience in Iraq and Afghanistan over the past decade, are nevertheless eloquent of the policy paralysis in the West over Syria. The so-called friends of Syria, the Western and Arab powers behind the Syrian rebels, have been fickle and fumbling, whereas the friends of the Assads, principally Iran and Russia, have consistently supplied the Assad regime with arms and money as well as a diplomatic shield. Unwilling to take the risk of supplying heavy weapons to the rebels in case they fall into the hands of jihadis, President Barack Obama of the US, Francois Hollande of France, and David Cameron, the British Prime Minister, have in effect subcontracted arming the rebels to absolute monarchies in the Gulf, whose religious absolutism has done exactly what Western policy sought to avoid. It has empowered Sunni jihadis bent on a region-wide war against what they regard as Shiite infidels and idolaters, personified by the Persian and Shia Islamic Republic of Iran, bugbear and bogeyman of the Sunni Arab powers as well as the West. Western leaders brought up to distinguish black hats from white tend to see, in this case, just a blur of turbans. Meanwhile, the situation on the ground inside Syria has without question made it more difficult to know which rebel factions to back, and if so, to what extent. As I mentioned, Western policy has empowered extremism on the rebel side, while the inability of the Assads to regain control of the country has sucked in thousands of fighters from Hezbollah, the Iran-backed Shia paramilitary movement from Lebanon, and certainly hundreds of militia volunteers from Iraq, where Nouri al-Maliki's Shiite government, the result of the Anglo-American invasion and occupation a decade ago, has joined the Iranian side in Syria. President Obama 6 weeks ago ordered unspecified direct military support for Syrian rebels, while David Cameron pushed successfully, alongside President Hollande, to get the EU arms embargo that prevented member states delivering arms to the rebels lifted. All three leaders appear since then to have got cold feet, while President Assad's allies clearly feel they have a wind behind them after a long stalemate on the ground. Hassan Nasrallah, the Hezbollah leader, has been broadcasting regularly to keep his Lebanese and broader regional Shiite constituency on board, presenting his fighters' decisive intervention last month to clear strategic corridors near Qusayr in Syria as part of a fight against Sunni extremists such as al-Qaeda. This presents Hezbollah less as a proxy army under the command of Iran's Revolutionary Guards, more as a shield for all minorities, not just the Shia, against the Wahhabi Islam that dominates Saudi Arabia. General Dempsey's misgivings are therefore understandable. As he intimates in his letter, half measures at this stage may misfire and be worse than no measures. Intervention in Syria by the Western and Arab powers behind the Syrian rebels requires more than things like arming the rebels and a no-fly zone. It would require the systematic destruction, he intimates, of the Assad regime's air force, air defenses and airfields essential to their supply lines. That would also probably require some presence, probably of special forces on the ground, and the ability to distinguish between not just black and white hats, but turbans.